If you haven't seen the previous video in this series, follow the link on your screen or click the link in the description or pinned comment below.
I don't want to see this on your MySpace page.
MySpace was a dated reference even when this movie came out.
Except that's actually not true. Iron Man came out in 2008, and in 2008, MySpace was still the largest social media website in the world. Sure, Facebook overtook them that year, but you said MySpace was dated when this movie came out.
This many holes blown in the Humvee, but nothing hits Tony.
It's called getting lucky. Being lucky is a sin now? Besides, if you actually examine the scene, you'd see that the seat on the side of Tony is protected by bulletproof glass and is where Tony's head is. The other rounds go through the space that would be directly in front of his chest and above his lap. My question is, why are you expecting him to be hit by rounds that went past him or got stopped by the glass? Just because there were a lot of holes?
An entire article called Metal vs. Wood.
Yes, because that magazine is Popular Mechanics, a magazine dedicated to explaining how the world works. Metal versus wood is a reference to these as building materials. A lot of people assume that metal is stronger than wood, but you'd be surprised to know that wood can be stronger than steel. This is something you might have learned in that article.
Mad Men wasn't popular enough yet in 2008 for Roger to play Howard Stark.
So you're pointing out a future casting change as a sin of this particular film? Why? What does the future casting change have to do with Iron Man 1?
Jon Favreau's in Vegas, but he's not picking up beautiful babies.
That's not a sin for the movie. That's you making an obscure joke that people would then have to go into your comment section in order to understand.
So this chick was so turned on by how brazen Tony Stark was in asking her to bed that she got in the car and drove for 3+ hours with him to Malibu?
Jeremy assumes the richer-than-Batman Tony Stark drives from Vegas to Los Angeles instead of taking the 30-minute flight.
So is he the Joker now?
No.
Scene does not contain a lap dance.
That's sexist.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
That's sexist.
How'd you take it?
Like a champ.
How does Pepper know that the reporter took it like a champ? Was she in the bedroom with them?
What kind of question is this? It seems like you're asking if Tony was asking if Pepper saw them having sex. Clearly, his question was, how did she take being ghosted? Did you even watch the scene?
I'm just your babysitter, and so, when you need your diaper change, thank you. Let me know, and I'll get you a bottle.
If you're using bottles when you change diapers, you are a terrible babysitter.
I'm going to assume you've never changed a diaper before, because that is precisely how you distract a fussy baby in order to change the diaper.
Wait a minute, why does the bad guy insist on having Stark build the Jericho missile instead of just killing him immediately? We learn he's already got the connection to Obadiah, so he can buy Stark weapons under the table, so why not just buy a Jericho that way?
So the Ten Rings here weren't aware the convoy they attacked held Tony Stark. Stane's goal was to have Tony killed during the attack and make it look like a random terrorist attack. The Ten Rings then hold Tony for ransom to get Stane to pay them more money. Stane isn't selling them anything, he's using them. Having Tony build the missiles kills 2 birds with 1 stone.
That could won your heart for 50 lifetimes.
Wait a second, is the reactor needed to keep shrapnel out of his heart or to power the thing?
That wasn't Jensen's point. He's aware that Tony is going to place this device in his chest, meaning what he's actually saying is, that's a lot of energy, that's all.
If only there was a shining, gleaming clue that could have tipped the terrorists off that Tony wasn't building a missile.
Yeah, but the Ten Rings are aware that Tony has a device in his chest keeping him alive long enough to build the missile, so to them, all he's doing is prolonging his life so he can finish the work.
Someone forgot to tell this guy he has video cameras set up in this room.
Well, considering his video feed looks like this, I'd probably want to manually check on them too. I mean, you would think the Mandarin would provide his terrorist cell with the materials they needed, what with his magical rings and all, but I guess we'll find out why he didn't in a few days. Bill Kingsley is going to crush that role. Can't wait.
The only guy who actually keeps an eye on the video feed sees Tony doing some crazy robotic leg thing and goes in to call them on their but then just drops it and lets them get back to work.
This is not how the scene goes down. I mean, you're literally showing the attempted torture of Jensen. He only drops the subject to give Tony a hard deadline of 1 day.
Missiles don't have masks. This should have been a dead giveaway.
Yeah, it would have been a dead giveaway if Tony hadn't just forged this mask after Raza left. And it's not like they could see anything on the video feed anyway.
So none of these guys even got one bullet anywhere near the giant eye hole?
Apparently not. You seem to think that because a lot of bullets get fired off, every square inch of space gets hit by them. That's not how math works. You can shoot 1,000,000 rounds at something and still leave spaces in between. Ever tried shooting that star at a carnival?
I rest my case.
Did none of the flames of this explosion get through his eye holes either?
Despite what this particular frame looks like, Tony takes off flying before everything exploded. At best, the flames were whisked away from his face by the speed at which he was traveling. It's similar to how you can wave your fingers through a candle's flame and not get burned if you do it quickly enough.
I want an American cheeseburger.
Well, then why the f did you go to Burger King?
It looks more like Happy went to Burger King. Also, this is a reference to how Robert Downey Jr. overcame his addiction issues. He credits Burger King with helping him give up drugs. So, this scene represents Tony giving up weapons of mass destruction with a little help from Burger King.
Manufacturer division of Stark International. Until such a time.
Well, you know, that's just like, your opinion, man.
That's not a sin for the movie. That's you making an obscure joke that people would then have to go into your comment section in order to understand.
This evil rich guy gets around on a Segway.
Pointing things out on the screen, are we? Because, you know, we can all see that too.
Pepper yanks out the magnet Tony tells her not to take out, but then they both just forget about it and put the new one back in without a magnet.
Because the magnet wasn't supposed to go back in, as the new arc reactor has another magnet in the housing. He just didn't want her to yank it out as crudely as she does. They were going to remove the original magnet anyway, only more carefully. Think about it. If you just yank on a magnet that's attracting shrapnel, you could potentially pull that shrapnel through other vital organs, like the lungs. What?
That's pretty funny, but wouldn't serious injury or death occur from crashing face first into a concrete wall and then falling from that height?
I suppose that's a possibility in real life, but I have a sneaking suspicion that Iron Man is set in a fictional world where you can survive falling from insane heights in a metal suit.
Apple and Dell monitors sharing screen time makes my geek head spin.
You thinking Apple and Dell monitors having anything to do with geek culture makes my geek head spin. Both are for posers. I bet you think having an iPhone 5 makes you tech savvy. Real geeks know it's all about that Galaxy Note 2.
Apparently, secret meetings concerning Tony's own company that result in injunctions against him can take place without his or Pepper's knowledge.
Well, Pepper is Tony's assistant. She wouldn't have access to a board of directors meeting unless Tony took her to one.
This shell flies past Iron Man but never hits anything or detonates.
Just because you don't see something doesn't mean it didn't happen. There isn't a wall behind Iron Man, so the shell continued flying until it hit something far in the distance.
If the bad guys are making their big hostage video all just for Obadiah, as we learn later in the film, why didn't they just speak English? What language did they use to communicate with him when setting up illegal arms deals?
As the film demonstrated with the Yinsen character, they cannot speak English and need translators. It's almost a certainty that Obadiah used a translator when making the earlier deal, probably Yinsen himself.
This paralyzing technology is perhaps just as good as anything Iron Man has in his arsenal, but strangely isn't used again.
Do you mean by Ironmonger or just in this movie? Because if it's the former, this tech is the only of its kind and was lost when Stain was killed. If it's the latter, this is the second time it was used.
You really think that just because you have an idea, it belongs to you?
This is what Stan Lee must have told Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko back in the day.
That's pretty funny. I mean, I am laughing. But who created what is still a matter of debate amongst comic book fans today. I love Kirby, but that dude almost made Black Panther into a character called Cole Tiger that was eventually used in the 90s. A black character named Cole. Yeah, let's give Lee his flowers. You're going to miss him when he's gone.
Next time, baby.
Yeah, not for you.
There are many layers to this particular sin, all of which I can attack. Is this a sin for Howard not being in the role? Because I would argue Cheadle was way better in Iron Man 2. Is the sin that they don't follow up on this claim? Because the character of Rhodey does become War Machine in the next film. I guess my point is that changing actors isn't a sin of a film. It's like when Richard Harris died and they needed to cast Michael Gambon as Dumbledore. Marvel is smart enough to recast when an actor is too unruly or dies.
Once you're in a suit this badass, do you really need to punch someone with a motorcycle?
Jeremy thinks baseball players punch baseballs.
Seriously, Obadiah, just whip out the keychain gizmo and paralyze his ass again.
But Jeremy, his arms are inside the arms of the suit, and not only that, Tony is wearing a helmet. They showed that the whine from the gadget can be blocked by specialized earplugs. Do you think this advanced science fiction suit doesn't provide any protection from something like a high-pitched noise?
Gwyneth Paltrow's head isn't in a box at the end of the movie.
That's sexist.
This end credit scene becomes the bane of existence to all movie theater ushers everywhere as people start wading through the end credits of every single movie before they leave.
Hey, I have a new running gag. Sending Marvel end credit scenes and the one that started it all. That's worth these many sins.
You have no idea what you're dealing with.
Shakespeare in the Park?
Doth mother know you weareth her drapes?